And we are live. What's up, y'all? So I'm gonna jump right into it. My name is Fitz. Thank y'all for tuning into the show. Tonight we're gonna be talking about free speech. Is free speech dead in America? I want to start off by saying, we love to say in America that America is the land of the free. Free speech. I don't even know if it's real anymore, though. I don't even know if it's real anymore. But tonight we're gonna unpack that. I'm gonna share a personal story about why it is I think that free speech is not actually free anymore. So there was a time when I worked a job and there was a white woman, a manager, who had just got done doing an interview. And I'm walking in and somebody else sees the name on the piece of paper and they say, oh, so and so, you interviewed so and so or whatever, and they're like, that's a cool name, and the name was like an Asian name or something like that. And the manager that hired them, she was a white woman, and she said, "Yeah, we need to get less white people around here. Like we need less white people working here." And she said it in front of a room full of people, and they all laughed. And I sat back and I thought, how would that conversation have went differently if she said we need less black people here, or less Asian people here, or less women here, right? And this is an example of why I say I think that free speech is dead, is because she couldn't have had that same conversation. She wouldn't have been able to show that same level of openness if she had a different perspective. If she would have said we need more white people here, it would have been a problem. If she would have said we need less black people. Also, I found that people are more willing and accepting of having open conversations that are more left-leaning. So it's perfectly okay to talk about left-wing talking points, or, the left side of the aisle talking points. I remember somebody telling me at a company dinner, they don't know how any black person could be a Republican. And when these conversations happen, understand, I just like to observe and listen. And I question, are they saying these things because they understand it's okay and they can get away with it because they're talking from the left side of the aisle? Do they understand that? Because I think right now there is an acceptance, more acceptance for certain speech and less acceptance for other speech. There is more acceptance for certain speech and less acceptance for a different type of speech. And I think we all saw that play out over the last couple of days when, of course, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Assassinated, not for going and doing something horrible, not for, being a gang leader and influencing a bunch of youth and things like that to go and commit crimes on the streets and make your neighborhoods unsafe. Not for any of that. Not for anything but showing up, giving other people he disagreed with the microphone and saying, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. He did what y'all do when y'all be arguing about where you want to go eat. He did what y'all do when y'all be having discussions back and forth about things in your own private life. Except he chose to put it on camera. And there are people celebrating the fact that he was shot in broad daylight in front of thousands, now millions of people since the video is circulated. And so tonight, I'm making the argument that free speech is dead. I believe that free speech is dead. And we're going to get into it a little deeper. We're going to have some fun with this show. I do have a co-host tonight, Ty. He's going to be jumping on shortly after I give the intro and everything. And we're going to dive into a couple topics. Some of the things we're going to be talking about, of course, we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk assassination, cancel culture, and what modern censorship looks like. We're going to be talking about polarization, left versus right, black versus white. Also, media hypocrisy. Who gets silenced, who doesn't, why violence replaces conversation. And there's an interesting stat that came out recently about, what people think is acceptable when it comes to stopping someone from speaking when they disagree. And then I'm gonna end with my vision, right? I'm gonna end with the vision for fathers, families, free thought, and we're going to open this up. I am dropping a link in the description so you can come up and you can give your ideas, and you can debate on certain topics and things like that. That will be going on at a certain time during the stream. I'll drop that. Matter of fact, I'll drop that in the comment section right now so that we can get things going. Give me a sec. And if you're watching this on replay, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop some comments. I do comment back. So make sure you tap into that. Let me get this link real quick for y'all so that you can join the conversation. Come up, debate. Your camera does have to be on. Camera does have to be on if you want to come up and debate. We not doing all of that anonymous stuff. So let me get that up there. All right. So right now I'm going to bring the co-host Ty up. There we go. What's up? How you doing?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Hey,
me too.
Feeling great.
Yeah, feeling good. Good to be here.
Yep. Some people are celebrating Charlie Kirk being assassinated. What do you think about that?
I think people are just kind of heartless. And I think it's just something I think it gives people purpose. It makes them focus less on their own lives and focus on something that's a little bit more entertaining because their lives are boring.
I think it's deeper than that. I do think that people are heartless, but I also think people just want a certain level of attention, and this is how they get it. This is how they get it. You're now able to walk around and say certain things online that you wouldn't say in person. That's another thing as well. People will sit there and say, well, Charlie Kirk said these things and blah, blah, blah. He also debated people. So you could go and debate him live in person. And a lot of people, they don't want to talk in person. They don't want to debate in person. They want to stay behind the keyboard. And so what I think there's a deeper thing here, which is when you can't win the argument, you still have those feelings that you're right. Mm-hmm. And you want the other person to suffer for even having the thought that differs from yours. And so I think that's what's going on, is that, we see people who don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know their right from left when it comes to really articulating their point or defending their point beyond their own thoughts and beyond their own echo chamber. And so now we're in an environment where people are cheering for assassination. Mm-hmm. People are literally cheering, doing dances online for an assassination. And honestly, I believe that those people that are cheering for the assassination of another person, I honestly believe that they believe that him being dead is a net positive to society, but I don't really believe they understand how it works, how being a martyr truly works. It's wild. It's been a wild last couple of days. I remember seeing the video and then wishing I never saw the video. Mm-hmm. I was like, bro, how is this even allowed online? Yep. How is this even allowed online?
Yeah. Me too. I got the text from you, texted me, or no, I saw it on Instagram about him being shot, and I was like, oh, just a little graze or, something like that. I didn't think it was as bad until I got online, and then the first thing that popped up was the video of him like up close being popped, and it was like I wanted it to be AI. I wanted it so badly to be fake because I couldn't believe it, and it was hard. Like it took me a couple of days to kind of get back to a better place and get my mind right, because it just felt just unreal. And it was kind of hard to. I mean, I understood it, but it was also hard to understand for what. That was the biggest question I had: is for what, why, now?
Right. And over the last couple of days, I've really done some reflecting on, what is free speech actually mean? Is it something that's valued in society? And it seems like it's not. Honestly, it seems like if you get shot, not because you're in somebody's face being disrespectful, not because they bumped into you and y'all are saying things back and forth in the heat of the moment, but you said something online, somebody didn't like it, then somebody put a plan together. They went on Google and started researching how to get away with murder and shit, and then they started, I'm gonna get the gun here and I'm gonna put this plan together. Like they spent hours planning and going through a strategy and mapping out when another human being they've never met is going to be at a certain location, and they're reading flyers on campus to see where the event's going to be held, and then they're scoping out the school to see where they can go hide and what type of weapon they're going to use, and then they're doing all of this stuff because somebody said something that they don't agree with.
Right.
Because somebody, like, that's the point that we're at. And it seems to me that if America truly values free speech, that wouldn't be the case. That wouldn't be the case. And it certainly wouldn't be the case that people would be celebrating this, right? If this is an American value where Americans in modern time truly value free speech, there would be more, I guess there would be more, I don't even want to say empathy. There would be more push against this, and that would be it. There wouldn't be the funny memes. There wouldn't be the shit talking and, oh, he deserved it and life comes at you fast and all this other stuff. It's like, do you value free speech? Yes. Okay, then speak out against it. Right. Or just be quiet if you didn't like him personally. But when you sit there and say things about how he deserved it, or you make fun of, or you minimize, you're not just like, I think people don't understand. They're not just minimizing Charlie Kirk. You're actually showing you don't stand up for free speech. You don't believe in free speech because he has a family. He has people that love and care about him. Them, should they go assassinate you because you're saying something that they don't like? Should that happen? But people will say no, or I don't care, and blah, blah, blah. Let's be real. I just want to go through a hypothetical. Let's be real. If there was somebody who had like a weapon to these people's head when they were saying these things, they probably wouldn't say half the stuff they're saying.
Right.
Because they don't actually believe it.
Right.
They're not willing to defend it. They're not willing to do anything. And somebody like a Charlie Kirk or a Dr. Umar or all these other people that people disagree with a lot, at least they're willing to stand on what they say and publicly engage people and put their thoughts and ideas out. There are some people who, they may work as a teacher and they got all the smoke for everybody else. They can talk about people behind closed doors, but they're not willing to defend themselves and their ideas. But they're so quick to talk down on other people. So my question for the audience, and you chime in, is, do you think that America values free speech anymore?
I think it's more performative than anything now, because if it doesn't align with what is trendy, then you're often labeled as hateful, trash, transphobic, homophobic, all the labels that they have, you get labeled as that. Even if you just say, I don't really agree with that, right? Not even on some, not on the extreme like Charlie Kirk, but more of just like, I don't, that's not really how I live my life. I kind of want that in my life. You guys are okay to do it outside of that, but when we're interacting, I don't really want that being pushed on me. And now I feel like it's more, if you're talking about your values and questioning kind of the mainstream narrative, then you get labeled as this terrible person and you get attacked, not only verbally, but also sometimes physically. I've seen people get attacked in some of the protests. right? People just trying to get through, or they don't want to participate. People beating on their cars, smashing their windows, even walking down the street, people getting beat up. And I think it's really messed up because we're supposed to have this freedom of speech, regardless of how it makes you feel, right? Because it's okay for certain groups to do it, but then if other groups do it, then it's a problem. And I think it's very contradicting. That's why I think it's performative right now. And you have to say what's you're allowed to say some things that are out of the line, but it has to be within the line as well.
And I definitely think that, right now there's definitely certain thoughts that get canceled more than others. Like you can't talk about the trans stuff. You can't talk about really freedom of speech. You can't talk about cancel culture. And these are all things that you would think we need to talk about more because, I truly believe this might be the last generation that actually has free speech. I truly believe that because you, there's so many people that don't believe what they say online, but then when they're in person, they have to put up the act. They have to believe that they're okay with all the things that are now considered okay. Uh, they have to put up that mask essentially, and I don't think it's gonna last, the mask. But I think that we're gonna give up too much power and control, and then there's not gonna be any going back. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a stat recently where it said, I think something like 30 something percent, between 20 to 30% of college students had said, and this was a study, I think, where it was like 70,000, around 70,000 college students were surveyed. And I think around a third of them had said that it's okay to use violence to stop somebody from saying something that they disagree with, or that they, like to stop speech essentially. Um, and to me, this sounds like we in the hood, right? This is what people used to demonize. Oh, they just said something. Why are they killing each other because they said something? That's what this sounds like. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's kind of crazy, man. Like 30, I mean, 30% that's a big number to think that you can just use violence to silence someone. But again, it goes back to what's performative, right? And I think a lot of people aren't able to think for themselves and they kind of have to follow the crowd and what's trendy right now. So when you're in school, in college, you're really focused on academics for the most part, other extracurricular activities. So you really don't have time to think for yourself. You kind of just follow the other people, right? Who's more invested into these things, and you kind of trust that they know what they're doing. But then you find out later on that it was kind of, again, performative, right? We're getting mad about things that we aren't really critically thinking about, and it's going to be a lot of blowback. If you think that you could put your hands on somebody just because they say, "Hey, I don't agree with your lifestyle," right? If y'all are having a conversation where it's brought up and they say, "Hey, I don't agree with your lifestyle," I don't think they should be able to get beat up, or even worse measures where somebody gets stabbed, or in this case somebody got shot, right? I
Mhm.
don't think that should be allowed or even pushed, because then once that happens, what about if other people start pushing back? And we've already seen um, what they call hate crimes now, right? We've already seen people get beat up because they are trans, because they are part of the LGBTQIA community, those things, or different cultures, all types of things. So it's not surprising, but it is surprising at the same time, because this is the generation that's going to be going into the future for us. And I know I don't want that type of mentality. I don't want people just acting off of impulse and not really thinking it through and thinking for themselves. I don't want them following the crowd. But that's what it's going to come to, because that's what's more popular. That's what's more trendy. People want to fit in, right? People want to be cool. So if I'm one of those individuals where it's like never fit in before, and now I'm fitting in because I'm supporting this cause, that's what I'm going to do. That's what makes me happy. That's what gives me that dopamine rush. I got friends, right? Even though they're temporary, right? Because you have to stick with their beliefs all the time. It's not just one time thing. You have to be dedicated to it, an undying loyalty. So it's sad to see because it's like, dang, I think about us when we was in college, right? And there was a particular situation for yourself, right, where people were kind of ragging on you because you voted for somebody that they didn't really like, and
Trump.
then you became a bad guy. You became the villain. Now you were Trump Jr. You know what I mean? So that was weird to see because it's like, you vote for your own reasons, and that's why we have a democracy. Is everybody gets to choose their own person, and what aligns with their lifestyle. But now it's more blurred. It's like if you don't agree with one side, then you're X, Y, and Z. You don't agree with the other side, you're mentally ill and all these other things. So it's sad to see, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. So I'll give y'all the story. When I was in college, this was like the 2015, 2016 election, whatever. This was the first election with Trump. And, I actually was kind of into politics or just debating ideas and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you see people who they can't even read at a third grade level, bro. Let's just be real. They can't read at a third grade level. They ain't never had a critical thought when it comes to politics. They don't even know how to file their income taxes. They don't know how to read a piece of literature and comprehend it and then analyze it and give original thought to it. These are people that will read a headline and not read the body and then live their life based on the headline and not be able to synthesize information. So this is what I'm dealing with. So then all of a sudden, Trump says he's running for office and stuff like that. And then you see a bunch of people who never had a political thought sit there and talk about politics and talk about why he shouldn't be president and start, making all these ideas. So I'm saying like, okay, cool. This is my arena. Let me see what's going on. So then I dig into it more and it's like, y'all are actually just fake. Y'all don't care about politics. Y'all don't care about these things. It's just something for you to talk about. Right. It's something for you to talk about. So then I had the bright idea. I said, you know what? I hope he wins. I hope he wins so that people that are actually saying that they care about these things, maybe they'll actually start caring if he wins. Maybe they'll do something if he wins, because there seems to be a lot of people that don't want him to win and that care. So let me see what it's like if he actually wins. So then I voted for him just to make a point, just so I could post online that I voted for him and make fun of people and spark debates. And so that's how I ended up voting for Trump the first time. But I did it because there was that sense of people are telling you that you can't, or that you are something if you do, or, trying to make it seem like they had all this life that was perfect. And then Trump came along. It's like, bro, haven't you been to jail 3 times? Aren't you failing 2 of your classes because you have a drinking problem? Did he do that? He's not even elected yet. Aren't you addicted to popping Ritalin? Let's be real here. Haven't you slept with multiple people on these sports teams? Did he make you do that? You're failing your classes. You don't know what you want to do with your life. You have not mapped out any sort of concrete plan for yourself, for your life, and you have no way to take care of your family or do any of the things you say you want to do. But someone that's not even president yet is your problem. That's what you're telling me? Let me go ahead and vote for him so you can get off your ass and go do something. Because maybe that will put some fire into you if you actually believe it. But as we found out when he became president the first time, people didn't go out and do anything to change their lives or put themselves in a better position. The average American still has less than $700 in their savings account, not because the tooth fairy comes and steals all their money and the bills but because they choose to go buy stuff they don't need and focus on things that they don't really care about or things that don't really make them money or do anything for their lives. And that brings me into cancel culture. Is because we don't live in a society that values free speech, because people are just waiting for you to say something so that they can try and ruin your life. That's what it's about now. It's not about who has the best ideas or, who can present a more reasonable future. It's about who can get who fired from their job? Who can make the best meme online and start a Reddit and then, start radicalizing people so that you end up with the Charlie Kirk assassination situation and people can laugh and create this moment off of it. That's what it's about now. And it's not over. It's going to keep happening because that's where we're at. We don't value free speech anymore. We don't value any free. But I know I went on a rant. I want to get your thoughts. Is cancel culture something that is, I'm hearing it's ending, but I don't see that. What do you think of cancel culture right now in its current form?
I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's ever going to end, especially when you have individuals on one side who are taking it to the extreme. Because then we'll just say left and right side for right now, but the right side has taken some plays from their playbook, and now they're getting people fired from their jobs. I don't know if you've seen that, but with all the Charlie Kirk slander and everything like that, people have gotten fired from the jobs, and then they get on TikTok, social media, whatever they're on, and they're crying and saying how they're going to pay their rent and all these things, and really having a mental breakdown. So I don't think it's ever. I think it's here to stay. I think
do
it's
you
always
agree with that? Like, do you think that them getting fired from their job for making fun of Charlie Kirk for getting assassinated is different than giving a different statement, a different political statement, or do you see it as the same?
Well, what I've always been told every time I went to a job, that I'm still a reflection outside of that job, in my personal life. So I understand why people are getting fired, because if they have somebody there who said those things and they get labeled with being this type of person, this type of organization, whatever, it's going to hurt business. So they definitely have to get rid of the problem, because you can't mix those things. So,
and do you feel like that across the board?
yeah, for the most part, I think you're a reflection of everything in your life, including your family. First is your family, then you go and work for an organization. You're a reflection of that. When I was in school playing football, we were a reflection of the school when we went to certain games and attended certain events. We represented the school, not only ourselves, but the school as well. So if I acted a fool, then they could say that my university that I went to is letting people like him in there.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit, because what I think there's a difference. Like, let's say that you went out and you're on a football team and you had murdered somebody, or maybe not even something that extreme. Like, let's say that you did something that is obviously wrong. Okay. I think that that's different than you saying and giving your opinion about something where there's not necessarily a right or wrong in that situation. Like, for example, if you were to say, as a black man, I don't date white women. Is there a right or wrong to that, or is that a personal preference? And how do you judge that? Like, how does that get handled? Or do you see that as the same as somebody making fun of someone getting assassinated?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I still think it, because here's the thing: we have people who aren't going to think critically and be like, this is this person's personal preference, right? They're going to think, well, if this person's like that, then the people he's working with or around are probably like that. And I think if somebody's willing to get online and say these things about, oh, I hate white people, or I hate white women, or whatever the case may be, I think those type of thoughts bleed into other things that they do, including in their work. So for me, I think it's the same across the board. And if you're out here acting a fool, companies will fire you. Sometimes they tell you that right when you have the interview, like, hey, you cannot be acting a fool out here on social media. Because then if it comes back to us and we see it, again, you're a reflection of us.
What is acting a fool? And I'll ask that question. But real quick, if you are in the stream right now, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to leave a super chat, I will be reading all super chats tonight. Drop a super chat, and we will be bringing people up to debate later on in the conversation. But right now, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about free speech. Does America still value free speech? And essentially going into cancel culture and asking, because you brought up a point, like if you're acting a fool, should your job fire you? And my question would be, what constitutes acting a fool? Because it could differ from job to job, and I think that's where I think America just doesn't value free speech anymore. Because if we did, like, my thinking is this: the companies that are firing people because they say things that are considered acting a fool, they are worried about the regular person, their consumer, the buyer. So they don't believe their buyers value free speech, because if they did, they wouldn't care and people wouldn't get fired. So that's why I think that America doesn't really value free speech anymore, is because look at the companies. The companies are firing people because they believe other people don't value free speech enough to be like, that's that person's personal opinion. It shouldn't affect their job. My question is, where do we draw the line at, like, okay, this is obviously wrong. It's obviously wrong to mock and make fun of somebody that was assassinated versus giving your own personal opinion about, your preferences in life, for example, whether you date a white woman or whatever, or whether you're a Trump supporter or you're a Biden supporter. Should that be grounds for firing? It sounds like you're saying it's all in the same bundle, or maybe and I don't want to take the words out your mouth, but maybe like it's just not a good idea for you to post your opinions online.
Yeah, I think it's all in the same bundle, because again, you're a reflection of what you're involved with. So, and I do think you have a point, whereas the consumer may not value free speech like that, and they may want this picture of everybody being perfect. But for me, it's more of, okay, well, if you guys allow this, what else are you allowing? Because if we're talking about, we'll just say, we're talking about like an average employee, or we're talking about somebody who maybe has influence in the organization, that's, I think there's levels to that. But what else are you allowing to happen within inside that organization? Because even if they were like, well, that's just a personal opinion, they can say what they want to say because it's not on company time, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but what else are they doing? If they feel this way about this, what else do they feel about the company or people in the company?
Why does it matter? That's my thing. Like, why does somebody's personal opinion matter? Because let's be clear, just because someone doesn't post it on Facebook doesn't mean that they don't have that opinion. And I think when you say, okay, you're posting this online, boom, 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 and they don't have an outlet, or they see every day that the opposite side of the aisle, their thoughts go unfiltered. No one's getting fired for saying, I love Joe Biden. No one's getting fired for like, vote for Kamala. No, those aren't fireable offenses. But if you show up to your job with a MAGA hat, you're gone. And so I think that's the issue, is that it's not fair across the board. It seems like there's like obvious, like, okay, you mock somebody being dead, there's that level of it. And then there's like someone's personal preferences where they haven't made fun of anybody, they haven't done anything, but just them knowing that they are that person, or that they have this belief or whatever, that's a fireable offense. That's my issue with it, is that it seems like,
I still think it's the same, because we as a people have to have structure and understand that not everything needs to be shared. And when I grew up in a time in the 90s and 2000s, those things were kept to yourself. And then you had conversations with people that you chose to have conversations with that more than likely were in the same, they were into those type of things. So if you talk politics with people, those people were part of the, politics thing. If you talk sports with people, you talk sports with people who know it, right? I think we're starting to go outside of that box and include all these people in here that maybe haven't thought about politics or thought about sports or whatever the case may be. And that's why we're getting the responses that we're getting, because these people don't have no clue. So, and then we're getting mad in return because we're like, well, you're just voting blindly. Well, they don't know. So how can we put that on them and expect them to operate at such a high level that we are, I just think I think it's a double-edged sword, truly. And I think people just need to keep their thoughts to themselves. It doesn't matter who you support. It doesn't matter who you're voting for. You don't need to put it in your yard or put it on your truck or any of that stuff. Like at that point, I think we're just inviting division and potentially a fight. And obviously, what we've seen with Charlie Kirk, right? We can still have free speech, but we also have to act with some dignity. We cannot be out here just thinking that we don't have consequences to our actions. That's one of the things people don't understand is that you can still say what you want to say, but there's consequences that come with it. So if I get on Facebook and say, hey, I hate black women, I love white women all day, every day, right? And I'm in a place that has a lot of black women.
From a place of truth?
Huh?
Is that you? Are you speaking your truth right now, or is this hypothetical?
No, it's hypothetical. Allegedly. You know, and if I work for an organization that serves primarily black people or black women, black men, and my coworkers are mixed, and I have them on Facebook because I have no boundaries, right? That could be a problem. And now it's like, okay, well, how am I going to treat them? Do I, what does that bleed into? So that's kind of my thought process. I mean, you just need to keep it to yourself. Like, I've never discussed politics at work with anybody. I've never discussed any personal preferences, none of that. I keep all that stuff to myself. Anything that you can't see with your physical eyes at my job, you don't know anything else about me. And I like it like that because for those who want to have that conversation with me, then I can say, okay, that person likes to talk about this. We can talk about those things. Or this person over here, we can talk about those things. I'm not just going to blatantly come out and say these things because I feel like, for one, I think it's corny. For two, I have a better structure than most people with myself and my thoughts, and I know better. That's my thing is I know better, and I don't want to be out here like an open diary for these people just to know everything and anything about me.
I feel you, and I operate on the same level, just as common sense. Certain things are going to get you in trouble. My whole thing is like, why is it that it seems like having this opinion over here where maybe you say certain things like, you are a Trump supporter or whatever, and that gets you fired, but other things that are equally political, they don't. And I use the example, it's like if you worked at a place and let's say that they said there's no dating coworkers in this company. Like if we find out you're dating or have a relationship in the office, then that's grounds for termination. Okay. But then they make exceptions for same-sex couples. Then I'd be like, do you actually believe that then? Like why? Like if you're allowing it over here, why aren't you allowing it over here? And then we start to see the bias. And I think that's when people actually start to fight back and maybe post those things online and feel like they're rebelling and feel like they're standing up for something bigger than them. Because it's like you're allowing it. It's not fair across the board. You're allowing it over here, but you're not allowing it, on this side. And I think a lot of people, that's why they post things online that may be controversial, is because they feel like it's not fair. They feel like their side isn't being heard.
Right. And I guess I'm okay with not being heard because I live this lifestyle. Like this isn't something like I need to preach to the world or say to fight back against somebody else, because my actions and what I do on a daily basis is going to speak for me. So maybe that's why I say what I say. Even if I had people, like I employed people and one of them said, go Joe Biden and Kamala, and one said Trump, right? I probably fire both of them. Because that's not what you guys are here for. You're representing me because you're employed with me, and here you are out here acting what I say as acting a fool. Both of y'all getting fired. There's no, because we're not doing that. We're not going to create division. You can, like I said, you can support whoever you want to support, but when you come into my place of business, we are a team. We are one. We are not going to be this side versus this side. No, because first of all, you're not going to mess with the money. You're not going to mess with the business. And you're not gonna be impulsive like that, because I'm not doing that. I'm gonna let you know off rip about this job, and this is what I expect. These are my expectations. If you want to act like that, okay, see you.
Are you gonna go searching for it, or is it like if I find out about it?
No, if I find out about it, like if somebody brings it to me, I think it's a level of like having a conversation, saying, "Look, this is not how we get down." right? And giving some room for improvement, right? Because people make mistakes, people act impulsive, they're influenced by certain things. So I'm gonna give you a chance. But if you mess it up, oh, you definitely gone for good. Ineligible for rehire. Bye. I'm not giving you a reference either. Because that means your personal stuff is more important than what we're trying to do in this world. And I have a problem with that because it should never your outside stuff should never affect your professional life. Keep that where it's at.
So do you think that, I mean, why do you think that violence is now replacing conversation?
Uh, Probably just because it's easier, right? I think we're in a society right now where critical thinking is damn near non-existent, and it's easier for people to beat you up, try to fight you, talk about your character, rather than having a civil conversation because they don't want to admit that they don't know nothing about it. They don't want to admit that they haven't researched enough, right? It bruises the ego, and it's just easier to cut the conversation and get to the physical violent part. Why not? It's easier. Then they can say they beat you up. It's on social media, World Star. You know, I think about like Charlemagne. This is funny because he got quote unquote jumped in New York for saying something on their podcast, right, or morning show. And there's like 5 or 6 dudes that jump on them, and one of them punched him in the head, and then obviously he ran off, right? And then they try to chase after him and everything like that. It's easier to do that than have a conversation, and it continues this ideology that I wouldn't say we, but that people have pushed where if you don't agree with me, then you don't catch these hands, which is crazy because like half of those people who are screaming that haven't really been in any fights, anything physical, none of that stuff. So it's so weird to see them go so extreme when they really haven't done a lot of these things.
Yeah, and I agree. And we're at the point in the stream where if you want to come up and you want to agree, disagree, give your perspective, hit the link in the comment section. It's pinned to the top of the chat. It should be. You can hit the link, come up, and let us know what you think. Disagree, agree, disagree. We're moving into why violence replaces conversation. I think that violence is replacing conversation. I think it's replacing conversation, one, because there's been this recent shift where words are now considered violence. Like if you say something someone doesn't agree with, there's literature, there's perspectives out there, schools of thoughts that say you are committing violence against that person. So if you say to a black person, for example, hey, there's certain things that you shouldn't do, or your behavior is a reflection, it's not all white people, that's considered violence. If you say to a trans person, the man is a woman, a woman is a man is a man, a woman is a woman, that's considered violence. If you say to somebody that's poor, you need to work harder, gain a skill set that pays you more, stop drinking and smoking all the time, that's considered violence. So we live in a society now where words are considered violence. And so when you say something like you disagree with their perspective, they've been told, a lot of people, that your words are violent because of how they feel, like your fight or flight response. Somebody says something you don't like, your heart starts beating, you get in fight or flight mode, and now that's considered violence because you made them feel a certain, or you said something and then they felt a certain way. But instead, I think that we should be talking about how people can be better when it comes to emotional regulation, how they can start to be more confident and get purpose in their life, and stop feeding people the idea that they're a victim, stop feeding people the idea that someone out there is trying to stop them from succeeding and all they have to do is get rid of that person or silence them and stuff like that. Listen, the person that killed Charlie Kirk, he's going to be living a much worse life now than he would have if Charlie Kirk would have been speaking the next 30, 40 years. He's going to be in prison. He's likely going to get sentenced to death, or he's going to, do something to himself before that point happens. But it's like, that was worth it. Your life is pretty much over now, and that's what you have to show for it. So I mean, I think that violence is turning, or conversations are turning into violence, or violence is replacing conversations because people don't know who they are, they don't know what they want out of life, and they have no direction.
Right.
My vision, though, as a father, for families and for free thought, is that I want my children to live in a world where they can say what they want to say, and of course be respectful and things like that. But if they have an opinion or they want to live a certain way, as long as they're not harming anybody, they should be able to do that. And I don't see that really being the American future.
Yeah.
It seems like, America is on a decline when it comes to a lot of the freedoms that we used to think the country valued.
Yeah. I have hope. I mean, I'm hoping we can turn things around and hope we can get to a better place and get back balance.
It's
hope.
over.
Hope.
America's done. America's gone.
It might be.
Last year, they tried to take out the president. They tried to assassinate the president. We just watched an assassination on social media where people are cheering. America is done. It's over. What is America? What is America? If it's not its ideas, and we see the ideas of America being rejected, I don't think this is America. How can we call this America anymore?
Good question.
How can we call this America? It's different when it's a small minority of people, but I think that there's a larger population that doesn't believe in America. They don't believe what America stands for. You go ask the average person walking down the street, and the first thing they start talking about is America and capitalism, and how America needs to be torn down and thrown down. But then they don't have anywhere else that they would rather go and stuff like that. I think that there's just a genuine hatred for America right now. And I think it comes from a place of privilege. I think as Americans, we're privileged. Even like, for example, with me, I believe that two things can be true at once. I believe that America can be a place where slavery happened and there's been discrimination and atrocity, and some of that continues today. But I also believe that we have the best foundation and we're in the best position to win if, as an individual, you choose to do differently. Is it going to be tougher for certain people? Probably. Are you going to go through more obstacles? Bring it on. But at the end of the day, I just find it funny that we live in the richest place in the world. Most people, if they're not criminals or they're not doing some crazy stuff, they're able to make it. And they're definitely able to save up enough money to move to a different country. And so it's like, I'm just at the point to where it makes me just want to handle for me and mine and say, forget the rest.
Yeah. That's the vibe I'm on to, especially after what happened. It's just like, what's the point? If people are going to act like this and be so inconsiderate, then I'm not even going to waste time. I'm not even going to waste time trying to help folks. I'm not going to waste time trying to build something to change the world. And this is what pushes more of that capitalistic type of mindset. And then you start to see why people act the way they do who have a lot of money. It's because of stuff like this. And it's just sad to see, man. A lot of these people have never even been to another country. So they think that it's all sunshine and rainbows. I seen a video recently, and I didn't know this, but is it Israel? I think Israel, and the guy, it was two girls in the video, and they were at a pride parade, and they were talking about Israel and Palestine, I think. And I think Palestine allows folks to be gay, trans, queer, I don't know for sure the language that they use, but then Israel's more like, we're going to kill you for that. So I don't think a lot of people understand or look into these things as much. And they can go live in another country. You can go on a visa pretty much anywhere. You can go spend 6 months in Europe right now, but they don't like it because it's not America, and then they come back. I know a lot of people that come back, a lot. Um, Especially that one girl I told you about today. She was preaching about leaving the states and in Africa and all these islands and stuff like that. But now she's back in the good old U.S. of A.
They're not, and here's the thing: they're gonna do just like they do with their new man or their new girl. They gonna try to treat it better, right? They gonna try to treat it better and then do apples to apples comparison. But you gonna go to another country and you gonna stop all that bitching and complaining. Mm-hmm. You gonna assimilate. You gonna I'm gonna learn their language. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go over there.
They don't.
And act like you should have acted here. Okay. And guess what? You're probably gonna get better results there because you did what you needed to do and you handled business. People always want to go shit on places that aren't their home. They always want to go and do things and make it seem like they have it so bad, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You say that, and this is why I say free speech is not valued, because all of these people that are talking and making fun of Charlie Kirk for being assassinated, see how that works in a place where there isn't actual free speech. There are some places where if you criticize the government on social media, they will come to your house and arrest you. Mm-hmm. There are some places where if you criticize social media or you criticize the government or anything like that, you can be taken out. Yep. People don't realize that though. Yeah. They don't realize it though. And by assassinating someone and cheering for it, all you're doing is increasing the chances that we no longer have free speech in the future. That's all you're doing. Your children aren't going to live in a world where there's free speech. They're not going to be able to live in a world where you can share difference of opinions and ideas, and people are going to become centralized around, eventually what the government wants you to think and what the government wants you to say. And, those that stand against it, they're going to be, eliminated from the population, and there's going to be propaganda to justify it. And then at the same time, it's going to be harder and harder to speak out. And in 100, 200 years, people are going to have the world that they thought they wanted, but you're not going to be able to say anything, have any free thought. And it's really going to be like you think it is now. And then the people of that time won't even know they're being enslaved and oppressed because they don't know what actual free speech is. This is what happened with African people when they were stripped of their culture and brought over here and stuff like that. Happened with the natives where, over centuries and centuries, you get further and further away from what they actually did. And I think it's going to happen with, free speech and what America stands for now. It's going to be eliminated over generation and generation and generation. And pretty soon you're just going to be tuning in on TV and someone's going to say something crazy like the sky is green and you're not going to be able to disagree with it. And then I'm going to be gone. And I'm not going to be here for that. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think we're in for a rude awakening. This people don't understand that we're living in a time where, this is what y'all want so bad, then we're going to give it to y'all so y'all can see. Kind of like, I told you not to touch the stove, and I'm going to let you touch it the second time, and you're going to get burnt bad. And now, now you're going to be scarred for life. So, and maybe that's what we need. I don't know. Maybe America goes on that road just to get a glimpse of what it looks like, and then it might be too late to turn back around or try to push this. Oh, you guys were right. We need to do X, Y, and Z.
We're already at a tipping point. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the stream right now and you agree, disagree, and you want to come up, give your perspective, hit the link in the comment section. It's only available during the live stream. It's not available, of course, during the replay. If you want to come up, you disagree, you have a different perspective, make sure you tap in, hit the link in the comment section, because we're pretty much almost done. We're almost hitting an hour. I don't see anybody that's come up. We've had some people come in and out the stream, but I guess I'll end it with this last final question. If free speech dies, does America die too?
1,000%.
Mm.
1,000%. Because then it bleeds over to what you can and can't do, right? What we go back to labels. So, for example, one that people have been trying to, I would say one that's more controversial is hunting, right? If we go down this road of this being the leader of the labels, now things that you do personally are going to get labeled as not in alignment with what they say. Now you can't do it. Now it's a ban across all 50 states, right? So I think we'll go down that road. I think it'll bleed. I think it will bleed in everything else. Gun control, right? That's a big one. That's a controversial topic right now. And if we go down that road, then we won't have any. Everything will be banned. We'll be like other countries when it comes to having weapons and things. So that'll be the end of us, and everybody will just kind of be. It just be like a war zone, really. And I tell people this all the time when I have conversations like this. Other countries don't need to do nothing to us. All they have to do is sit back and watch us destroy ourselves. We can't come together on a common goal. It's always this versus this one. It's never we're together on certain issues. It's more of well. So we'll just tear ourselves apart, and then you know other people will come in and buy everything up, and now we look like other countries that are struggling.
Essentially, and I agree. I think that if you lose free speech, you don't have America. That's one of the foundational principles of America. If you lose it, you have something else. We may still be on the same land and still have the same flag and all that, but it's definitely not America. It's like you could put food coloring and some red food coloring and vanilla ice cream. It's not vanilla, it's not strawberry ice cream. And so I think we're at that point. And I think decisions need to be made. People need to, and Republicans do it too. Conservatives do it too. We've seen it with them trying to ban flag burning and stuff like that, which is a protected First Amendment right, freedom of expression, freedom of speech. So it's going on both sides, and I think that people are willing. These politicians are willing to win small battles, but lose the war, and that's where we're at right now. We're watching a civilization crawl towards the finish line and be pulled back by the people of its own country. We're literally watching America, the eagle. We're watching the American eagle with its talons try to claw to the finish line and get over the hump, and it's being pulled back. Free speech being pulled back, and so it's wild. It's wild. But if there's nobody in the chat right now that wants to come up, click the link in the comment section and come up and give their perspective. We're gonna jump off. This was kind of like a little test stream. Get the gears running again. Might do it, a couple more times. Definitely gonna be doing more live streams in the near future. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Doesn't look like there's anybody that wants to come up and say anything. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you're watching this on replay, appreciate you. Also, make sure you tap in, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me see. I got a message. Is this about I got a message. Maybe it's about the stream. Okay, no, it's not about the stream. Okay. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next time.
Yes, sir. Peace.